Bryan Kohberger, the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022, making his second appearance in an Ada County courtroom. I'm downtown Boise neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker, and I was inside that courtroom as the defense made countless arguments as to why the death penalty should be off the table.
State versus Kohberger.
Hours of oral arguments in the capital murder case against Bryan Kohberger. His legal team arguing several motions to strike the death penalty, insisting it's unconstitutional, violates both state and international law, and would violate the client's Eighth Amendment rights.
I don't believe that our Constitution allows for us to move forward and make him sit on death row.
Kohberger's defense hoped to call 2 experts to testify Thursday, but the judge did not allow it, saying it wouldn't be relevant or helpful. His legal team then pointed to the recent execution attempts of death row inmate Thomas Creech, which was called off in February after 8 failed attempts to insert an IV line for lethal injection. Defense attorney Ann Taylor argued Idaho is unable to carry out an execution, with Judge Steve Hippler quickly pointing out not 1 but 2 methods in place, and said the outcome in Creech's case was isolated and would not apply in any other circumstances.
When somebody sits on death row and there's no real means of executing them, that is dehumanizing to that person. That's similar.
Say there's no means under Idaho law. Method of execution is lethal injection, and if unavailable, then the firing squad.
Kohberger's attorneys further argued their client was forced to choose between his constitutional right to a speedy trial and his right to an effective legal counsel.
The crux of the matter here is that the defendant didn't have to waive his constitutional right to a speedy trial. He did. He did so under advice. He did so in writing. He did so knowingly, but he didn't have to.
The defense also challenged Idaho's death penalty aggravators, arguing they're too vague and violate the Eighth Amendment. Judge Hippler pointing out they've all been upheld in higher courts, and his job is to rule based on precedent.
I think the court can and should strike the death penalty in this case based on the record.
That would
here.
result in the death penalty being struck in every case.
Additional efforts to strike the death penalty focused on international treaty obligations, an argument that didn't impress the judge.
I'll be frank, it's falling about as flat as you would expect it to fall before our Supreme Court or the Supreme Court of the United States.
Kohberger's pretrial hearing is set for May, with jury selection slated for late July and the trial scheduled to begin August 11, 2025. It is also worth noting that Kohberger was wearing a suit and tie today rather than an orange jumpsuit, the court ruling that he can wear street clothes at future hearings. As for the arguments about the death penalty, the judge will issue a decision at a later date. I'm your downtown Boise neighborhood reporter, Riley Shoemaker for Idaho News 6.